Good morning, everybody. I'm your host, Wendy Nystrom with Environmental Social Justice. Today's special guest is Graham Hill. Graham is the founder and CEO of The Carbonauts. Welcome to the show, Graham.
Thanks so much for having me, Wendy. Appreciate it.
Anytime. And you're like the first person to do the raise the roof for me, so I kind of dig that. You have actually a really cool background. Other than the fact we have a shared friend from like 20 years ago in Shelby, you worked in the environmental industry, and you really focused on the environment back when I was there as well, when it wasn't really the most hot topic on the board. What brought you into focusing on the environment and doing what you're doing, and TreeHugger and TED Talks and Discovery Channel? I mean, you're quite accomplished.
Thanks. I was very fortunate to fall in love with the internet at a very early point in the internet's life, and was very much an entrepreneur from early in my life, literally as a kid. And so I just got obsessed with working in that area. And so I started a company with my cousin in Seattle in 1995.
Oh, wow.
So it was one of the first companies to build websites, and we were right place, right time. And my cousin luckily got a job at Microsoft, and we were able to pitch Microsoft, land Microsoft, do a good job for Microsoft. And as a result, we did millions of dollars of business for them over a bunch of years and grew it from the two of us to 60 people.
Oh, wow.
And then we sold it in 98, and I worked for them for a couple of years. And so long story short, made some money at a very early age. And so, which gave me the flexibility to really be choosy about what I wanted to do. And so,
Yeah.
a lot of gratitude for that. And I just, hippie parents, grew up with sort of good role models, and always been interested in sustainability. And so as of 2000, I began to focus. So been at it for coming up on 24 years, which is amazing.
I think that's fantastic, because in 95, the internet was still magic to me. And the fact you were actually creating websites was pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Then you've now progressed into creating an organization called The Carbonauts.
Yes.
And that's a wonderful organization, folks. I highly recommend just checking out Graham and The Carbonauts, but he's going to go into detail because you do quite a few different things within your organization. So if you could just explain what The Carbonauts do.
Yeah, sure. We are primarily, we are in employee engagement for staff at large Fortune 1000 companies. So that's the umbrella. What that tends to translate to is a drumbeat of content and activities, most of which are workshops. And so despite being a tech guy from way back, I sort of believe that apps and these things are nice, and we may do one at some point, and pre-recorded courses, nice, except they have very terrible completion rates. And so we really believe that the way to get stuff done, to actually move from awareness to action, is often together with a leader of some sort, knowledgeable, inspiring leader, and a group of people over a time period. And so the main thing that we do are workshops. And even though we're working for these large companies, Amazons and Chanel and Disney and these kind of corporations, larger corporations, we focus, we work with their staffs on their home lives. And so we picked sort of the easiest route, on-ramp for people into sustainability by helping them focus on their home lives. We do that because that's the most self-interested area. And it's the most personal. And so what we're trying to do is get people really connected intellectually, but also really importantly, emotionally to this stuff in a group of people, and get them focused on moving from awareness to action. So that's the main focus. So we have these really inspiring educational workshops, but we also make it very easy for people to take action. So we pave the pathway. So if you can make it, there's a big difference between saying, hey, it'd be great if you switch to renewable energy and providing each person the exact link to the utility, the website, the web page for the utility where you make that change. And so that's the kind of stuff that we do.
You know, I love the fact you do these in-person workshops and you help people and start at home, because one, that matters the most. You're going to focus more on what you do in your own home. But two, a lot of people don't know where to start. It's overwhelming at times. I mean, those of us who have been in this industry a long time, we get it.
Yep.
The goal of Carbonauts, the goal of environmental social justice, is helping people in the general public understand that you can do this. Small steps make a big change, little tiny things, and you're basically guiding them. Go to this website, you know, for the energy. A lot of people don't know that there are options with how you get your energy, whether it's clean or dirty.
Yep.
You have how to put on a solar. Who would I call?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I, you know, is an EV the same as gas? Where do I go to charge it? These are things that stop people from even taking that initial step. And you're just giving them that encouragement and that guidance to get there, which is very important. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that it's really challenging for people, because it's very understandable that a lot of people haven't taken action, because the amount of just pure information, but then also misinformation and disinformation out there. Like, these are trillion-dollar industries that spend a lot of money, hundreds of millions, if not billions, on misinformation, disinformation, because they don't want things to change. And so you want to make the change, but you start to research it, and you're like, all of a sudden you're not confident in your movement. Like, oh, well, it sounds like these solar panels aren't recyclable, and so should I do that? And EV batteries, they say that they're worse than a gas. Like, immediately you can start having self-doubt, and then you don't want to go the wrong direction. And so there's what do they call it? FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You enter into that, and then you don't do anything. And so we try to really, we're fairly conservative, but we really do our research. We're, most of the main people involved with the content have decades of experience, and we really go to take great pains to give people great information and to help them feel confident and just take that move. And the big idea here is that we simply do not get there unless we get individuals making changes. Like, there's this concept. We love pointing fingers.
Oh, yeah.
We love it to be, it's the corporation's fault, or it's the government, or it's another country, like someone else has to do it. But the reality is, it's all hands on deck. We've got to go a long way in a short period of time. And the individual is the atom that composes all these big companies, the government, et cetera. And we can't have a bunch of solutions if we don't take them up. So the individual is very important. If we need to be reducing our miles driven and electrifying them, then individuals need to be involved. If we need to move to renewable energy, people have to select renewable energy. If we need to have more plant-rich diets, people need to make that change in their home lives as well as out in society and out in work. So the individual is actually really, really important. We do not get there without the individual. And so we think it's tremendously important. And so our big theory of change is that in communities of people, if you can get to around a third, around 30%, living a new way, living a new behavior, that's when the other 70% quickly come on board. There's a tipping point at around 30%. And so our goal, and what we generally do with these corporations, is we're finding I'm guessing, 3 to 5% within that group. And then we are supporting them, educating them, inspiring them, getting them to take up this new behavior, and helping grow from that 2, 3, 4, 5% to 30%, at which point the whole company will flip. So that's what we need to do within our whole society, but also obviously within government or within corporations. So it's about finding that small group that's ready to take action, So we build the momentum so the whole thing flips. So you can see that happening with plant-rich diets. You can see that happening with electric vehicles. You can see that happening with solar, renewable energy. The numbers are small, but if we get to that 30%, that's when everything flips. So that's our big focus, and that's what we work with at these companies. These large companies have these huge staffs, tiny little sustainability team, often underfunded, often not enough people, and they may have a strategy, but they're going to hit the low-hanging fruit, and then net zero gets really hard.
Yes.
And they say culture eats strategy. So the culture of the company is really important, and the culture is composed of the average person. And the average person thinks sustainability is about straws and coffee cups. Like, they don't understand the big, meaty things that matter. And so if we're going to get there, a very long way of saying we've got to get the culture, and so we've got to get the staff. And the way to do that is find those people, that small group, and build momentum over time until the whole thing flips. And that makes the sustainability team's job a whole lot easier.
Oh, and I love the fact you mentioned that most of these companies have a very small sustainability group, if at all.
Yeah.
Some companies, they'll just kind of tack it onto another person's responsibilities and say, oh, by the way, do this as well. This is not easy. Handling the sustainability or reporting for your company is not something that's simple.
No, not at all.
A lot of data, a lot of metrics, a lot of reporting that goes on. Yeah. So getting your team involved, getting your employees educated and empowered that they can make these small changes, they can make a difference.
Yeah.
That will make the whole thing easier. Hiring Graham will make your life easier.
That's right. Exactly right.
Because these small personal changes will actually transform into systematic change that will carry over. And let's face it, folks, if you have any business in Europe, you have to file. You have required for these regulations.
Yeah.
The SEC, which was supposed to happen this fall, I believe it's going to happen first quarter 2024. They will be filing the requirements. So get ahead of the curve. Yeah. Be prepared. Get that organization in there now. And you have, Graham, you're across the country, if not internationally, correct?
Oh yeah, very international. We work with many Fortune 100s, in fact, and so we do work all over. And we may do more work outside of the U.S. than in the U.S. So we're in Asia, we're in Europe, we're all over. Yeah, it's mostly virtual. Is the way we do it. So our workshops are via Zoom or Teams or what have you. Usually 20 to 30 people, and we teach across many countries, and so only like 5% of our teaching is in person. The rest is all virtual.
Which makes it simple and accessible for everyone, because not everybody's going to be able to make it to the same location at the same time. So that's actually very flexible on your behalf for doing that for people.
Yeah, it's not easy. Like, we'll teach multiple countries at the same time. So it's definitely not, it turns out I never would have really thought about it. But putting together a great workshop is one thing, but delivering it with the scheduling and calendaring and technologies and countries, and it's fairly complex endeavor, it turns out. So luckily we've got a good team that are very good at it.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you in yours talking about you have your big 6 that you've mentioned in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's go renewable energy, drive an electric car, plant-based foods. What would you say are the other changes people could do to help them along?
Yeah, so those are the big ones. So switch to renewable energy, drive electric, and ideally, the best thing is don't drive at all if you can, or use a lot of public transportation. But people are still have to, and so if you're going to do that, electrify as many of those miles as possible. Plant-rich diets, turns out that actually is a big deal, and so if you can move away from beef, lamb, and cheese as much as possible, that helps a lot. And the further away from meat you can move, the better, frankly. But
that's better for your health overall. Let's be honest.
Perhaps some. And there may be some. The problem with this stuff is it is very nuanced. But also in the food front, reducing food waste. So we really focus on that, and that can be a real money saver for people as well. But a lot of people don't know that that's a big carbon issue, and they say 8% globally, like it's actually a really big deal. And then composting is another thing we talk about. And then flying is huge, and most people don't know that, and that's a little bit of a bummer. But there are a lot of things that you can do to actually lower your footprint. A lot of it is just planning ahead, stacking trips, and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So flying is something you can do about, something you can do things about. Offsets have a bit of a storied past, but there are, if you're careful about how you select them, we think they're actually really important. A lot of projects out there will not happen without your money, and those projects are sequestering carbon or preventing carbon from being emitted in the first place. And so we believe in high quality offsets. And then a really important one is learning how to and starting to share about this stuff. So we have a challenge in that many people think that less people care about this stuff than actually do. So we've got 70% or so are concerned, do care, but we think that it's only like 50%. And so sharing, people don't like to be told what to do, but there's a way to do it. You can share enthusiastically. You can ask questions. You can offer help. But we need to be talking about it, and that's part of building those social norms. If we need that 3 to 5% to really be getting out there to help make it okay for people to come out of the closet and start really talking about their concern here, and start to build the norms that they're actually doing things. Make it visible that you did sign up for renewable energy, because no one necessarily knows that. A lot of the stuff can be sort of secretive. And we really need to change the social norms. That's the way we get there. We need to make it, not okay that you drive a big Hummer and you fly private. And we need to make it, really aspirational, that of course you sign up for renewable energy. Of course you drive an electric car. Of course you live a mostly plant-rich diet. Like, that just needs to be the basics. And the beautiful thing about all this is most of this is not a big deal. And may have some other great advantages. A plant-rich diet is a very healthy thing to do, and it feels good. Driving, if you have to driving an electric car, you're driving in the future. You get in a gas car, it feels like you're getting in like a caveman machine. Like, a lot of this stuff is really great. So we've got to get people doing all stuff, and some of it's fun. Composting, as once you get into it, is actually sort of terrific. Being a total food waste Nazi is also sort of fun and saves you some money. So there's some fun and quality of life to all this stuff.
Going back to your transportation aspect, I'm a huge fan of all forms of transport. I do get annoyed when people claim to be pro-environment but jump on a private jet the second they get the opportunity, because it's like, you're really not. Nah, you're not really. However, there are some fabulous companies that are creating electric planes, hydrogen planes.
Yeah.
Those are scaling up quickly.
Yep.
And I've interviewed them in the past. These guys are doing great things. And another is our train and rail system.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for our trains to be hydrogen or fully electric or magnetic. I don't care. Just get it off diesel.
Yeah.
Because if I had access to trains and a decent network, I'd never get on a plane again. I think trains are fantastic, and we're getting there, and we need to normalize it. We need to kind of catch up with Europe. Let's be real. Europe is kind of, they figured it out. But we are getting there. And, with what you're doing with Carbonauts is you're helping people understand it's doable, it's scalable.
Yep.
And overall, it does help the company. Companies have reports they have to file. And if their employees are making these small changes at home, they're carrying those changes over to the office and their lifestyle. And when we start having to report, scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, they're going to be able to file that correctly.
Yeah.
It's very challenging to figure that out. But before I let you go, I do want to talk about, you do a dinner series.
Yes.
Internationally. This is around the world you do this. So that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, let me talk about that. Just one note on that, though. Yeah, Scope 3 has business travel, which is flying often.
Yeah.
Probably at least part of it, but also commuting. And so, part of what we do is we're very compelling in that that regard. And so that can actually help. So if companies are measuring that stuff, and if they aren't, they will be, and we do a
They're
great
gonna have
job
to.
on that. And that's really important stuff. So the events. So we but last year and a half, we've run about 100 events, and so these are just about building community around sustainability. It's surprisingly, people are thirsty for it. You would think, like I used to go to this thing called Green Drinks, which I think still exists in various places back in the mid 2000s, and that was just sustainability people getting together on a monthly basis. And so we're just doing similar. I've run like over 40 dinners in my home for like 15 people. And now we're doing cocktail events where we often will get 100 plus. We do a bunch in LA. We're doing them in New York, looking at San Francisco and Seattle. We've done some in London. And so, we may be in 5 to 10 cities. And then we also do, I lead hikes, and we have a really fun book club, which all of the listeners are welcome to join. So we're just trying to build community around this, and it's can be lonely for people. Also, it's just nice to be in a room where you start talking about what you do, and instead of people's eyes glazing over, there's actually excitement generated. And so it's they're very rewarding, and so please reach out on LinkedIn and connect with me, and we'll if you're interested, we'll try to get you to cocktails, a dinner, a book club, a hike, maybe a virtual salon, these kinds of things.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Yeah, the hikes I've looked into, they're pretty rigorous for this lazy gal. I looked at them like, I don't know if I'd make
that. That's funny. For me, they're not. In fact, I'm like downgrading it greatly. But I'm that sort of, I'm a bit of a natural, and I've done it a lot. So I like the.
You are very athletic. I am
20
working my way
miles.
back into. Oh, see.
But usually we do
take me all day.
4 to 6, this kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's reasonable, I think. But I saw some of them, the elevations, because this is LA, guys. We got elevation, and I'd look at the elevations, and I'd be like, I don't want to hold anybody back by crawling along with sticks. So I'm trying to get myself to go forward.
You should come. We make it accessible.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I'm going to make a personal challenge to make it to one of your Sunday hikes, because I need to be better. So I will do that. I will promise you that.
All right.
But Graham, so people can find you on LinkedIn very easily. Carbonauts, they can find your website. What type of people are you looking to connect with? I know you work with some of the big companies, huge companies, but everybody is accessible to you, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is unfortunately, there's a bread company called Carbonaut. So we're plural, and we're thecarbonauts.com. Even if you search plural, that works. And I'm Graham Hill on LinkedIn. We are sort of lucky, and what we do really applies to all companies. We'll sort of work for anyone, and even I think we're all complicit, and I think that we need to. We're all part of the lumber industry. We're all part of the oil industry, and that we really to sort of point the fingers at those industries is not entirely fair. And by the way, shaming gets you nowhere. And so we got to bring these industries along and help them transition. And I think that's it's important to be accepting and help. And we're lucky, so we can, if we teach the staff, then hopefully we can affect the company itself. And if not, we're still teaching them something valuable that they can bring elsewhere if they go elsewhere. So, but generally, the Carbonauts works with Fortune 1000, so usually 1,000 to 5,000 and up staff, because what we do is not mandatory; it's offered to the staff, and then they sign up, and so big numbers is good. We don't, not. We have 70% of the plant or the population generally care about this stuff, but when it comes to actually lifting a finger, even if you can do it on on company time and they pay for it, it still doesn't mean that the whole company is gonna sign up. And so big numbers
Well,
are good. But we work with small companies that are really evolved. A Long Beach Container Terminal with Bonnie Nixon, for example. They're not a huge group, and so it depends. So we're open. If you're a smaller company and you're ready to really get after it, then yeah, we can talk also.
And there's definitely scalability for that environmental impact that you are providing. And these companies can definitely build up. And even if you're small, or even if you don't have a sustainability office because you can't afford one, you can learn how to do it so you can progress forward, which is what is the most important factor.
Yeah, absolutely. We all need to become familiar with this. Ultimately, every job's a climate job, and we all need to have a familiarity. And it's, it's like calories. Like, that's just a weird physics term, right? But all of us are pretty familiar with calories. Same thing with carbon. So we're going to all learn about how to work with this stuff. And so
count your carbon. So on that, Graham, thank you so much for your time. What you're doing is fantastic. You're helping people around the world to figure out what they can do and how to, because people stop themselves. So they put up that roadblock. So you're guiding them, as through this field of just figuring things out in this maze. So thank you for your time, Graham. Really great having you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Wendy. I really appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's this is what we need. A lot more of this.
Thank you. Oh, and real quick, when you said the no shaming, my tagline is no shaming, no blaming, and every little bit helps. So that's funny that you said that. I was like, well, there you go.
I'm just trying to keep it on brand for you, Wendy.
Someone's gotta. So on that, guys, I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. Today was Graham Hill of the Carbonauts. Please check them out. Do what you can to do that scalability. So your environmental impact is very important. So we'll check you guys out later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Wendy.